I invite with pleasure today's speaker, Shri Ashish Bhavsar, who is the director of Vadodara Innovation Council. Ashish Bhai is MTech in electronics from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He's a B Electronics from the MS University of Baroda. So happy to narrate that you are a alumni, sir. His expertise includes electronics, medical devices, innovation, and SME management. His current position is as a proprietor of Wave Visions Vadodara, managing director of InMed Equipments Limited Vadodara, managing partner of AAA Medical Innovations Vadodara, AIM InMed Devices LLP Vadodara, and MedTech Devices Vadodara. He is also the director, as I've told you, of the Vadodara Innovation Council, and he has got great, illustrious academic achievements till now. Over and above, he is a very passionate teacher and is associated with several teaching institutes to impart knowledge. With these words, I welcome you, sir, and it's over to you to deliver your talk.
Thank you, Devkarji, Sunil Bhai, entire team of Vigyan Bharti and Vigyan Gurjari. On behalf of Vadodara Innovation Council, I thank you very much and invite all the participants. So today we are going to discuss on the emerging digital universe. I'm just sharing my screen. So we all know today we are into the digital universe and it's still emerging. So we need to understand, benefit from, and part of shaping the new digital universe. How can we do that? And why should we do that? We are going to look at all this in this today's program. So we will see why it's important, what are the drivers of this change, and how it has impacted the evolution. What is the understanding of emerging digital universe, how we can benefit from this digital universe, and how we can shape this digital universe. We also I'll give you details a little bit about what is the Innovation Council and InnoQuest Digital, which can take the advantage of this digital universe. So first of all, let's look at why it's important to know digital universe around us. We all know we have been surrounded by the digital devices, digital environment, and digital infrastructure across us. So we all know this supplementing education is very important. Mere degree or certificate or paper certificate is not going to suffice in tomorrow's world. We need to develop critical skills for the tomorrow's world. And these are some of the skills which World Economic Forum has suggested, which is going to be rewarding in 2020. What are going to decline, by the way? Manual dexterity, that is manual handwork, endurance, precision work, memorizing things, verbal, auditory, and spatial abilities, management of financial and material resources, technological installation, reading, writing, management, quality control, coordination, and all those things are going to be less and less rewarding in the coming future. So what is going to be more rewarding, more growing, and how we can be a part of that? So the growing parts are analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, creativity, originality and initiatives, technology design and programming, critical thinking and analysis, complex problem solving. So if you look at all this, the world is going now towards where you need to think, learn, and do something creative, something innovative. Only then you can be on the part of rewarding world. If that doesn't happen, what happens? You will remain at the out of this digital world, impact of this world, and you will always be left behind the world. So now let's see what are the drivers of this change and how it has impacted the evolution of this digital universe. Let's take the example of camera. You can see initially in 1930s, we had a big camera. Then it came 1940, little smaller. 1955, handy one with lighting in it. In 1970, very small, compact. But what happens in 1990? The camera became digital. And you know what has happened after it became digital? You can see in 2007, today, we have this mobile phone with a camera in it. So what has happened? In case of earlier analog era, we had to, if we wanted a snapshot or a photograph, we had to wait, we had to go to the camera, we had to wait there, they have to take the photograph, they have to get film out of it, they have to print it, and just imagine if you wanted to share that with your friends or family or outside world, what you can do? Nothing. If you want to take another snap, do nothing. And compare it with the today. Today, if you have taken one selfie, if you don't like it, just change it, take another one. So there is no consumables. There is no extra expense by doing, by taking this on mobile or digital camera. So you know what has happened? The magic has happened when this entire camera or image taking process has become digital. So what has happened? Now you can not only take the image in digital form, but you can store it, analyze it, transfer it, multiply it, or you can even morph it. You can manipulate it, right? You can do so many things because it has got converted into digital. Let's take another example. Television. We know we had a CRT, cathode ray television earlier days. So what had happened in those cases, we had to have those CRT tubes where you have to keep the tube at the focal point. So you have to have bigger, bulkier, and very power consuming device. What has happened in 2005 when the entire television went digital? Not only it has become the smaller, thinner, but the power consumption is also reduced. And who knows, in future, there are more innovations already on the way in the television industry. Take another example of sound recording and player. Earlier we had gramophone, cassette recorder. You know how many songs you can store on a CD or in a recorder, cassette player? Say 20, 50 or maximum 100. But as soon as it got converted into digital, you got CD. Now it's in digital form and you can have hundreds of that. Then came iPod and other players. You have thousands of them. And now you have that mobile with you. In mobile, how many songs you can play? Almost unlimited, because it's not dependent on your local device now. With the internet, now you can have n number of songs played from anywhere in the world. You may not even know from where it's being played, but still you have the access to it. And that is the power of digital. Take the example of phone. Earlier we had this wired phone, landline phone, then came even cordless, but still it was analog and you can do very little with that phone. As soon as this got converted into digital, what happened? Now you have got thousands of phone memory in your phone book. You can contact anywhere in the world. And now in your even wristwatch, you can just do the same function what you used to do with the bigger, bulkier and wired telephone. So all this thanks to digital. Even simple mobile. Initially we had 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and now we are on the doorstep of 5G. So initially we had only the voice, then came the multimedia, and then came video. And with 5G, you know, all these devices are going to be connected, be it your automobile car, be it your devices in your home, IoT, all those things are going to be connected to the world. And everything will become pure digital. When you say digital, it not only means you're converting those parameters into digital, but you now have the access and the control of those things, whether it's industrial thing, whether it's medical thing, whether it's payment, whether it's gaming, whatever. Now you have got the control on it because it has got converted into digital. Now let's see which are the forces which are shaping this digital universe, because all these are going in some direction, but who is driving that direction? Who is driving that speed? Let's see that. One is the faster processors, right? When we now today buy any mobile, what we look at it? What is the processor? What is the speed? And according to the Moore's law, every year the speed will become either double, or your size will become the half, or your price will become cheaper. Another one is the faster and bigger memories. Earlier, I remember in my computer, I had 256 MB of hard disk. 256 MB. I mean, if I ask someone today, he'll just laugh at me, because even your small phone has got in GB's memory. So all this memories, thanks to these memories, now you have got all this thing, memory, everything on your mobile, on your hand. Not only that, you have got even external storage higher. Take the example of YouTube. Whatever amount of YouTube data, I mean video data you have, you can upload it on YouTube. Take the example of Google Drive. You have many thousands of emails and your other data on your Gmail. All those things can be stored on Google Drive. It's not with you, but still, it's the storage, external storage, which you have access to and you can control. Take the internet and cell towers. It's going to multiply even further when the 5G comes. But all those data, internet and cell towers, they are interconnected. They all have access to all this call, SMS, internet, and it will always keep you updated, keep you connected to the internet. The interworking. With all those developments, there is need to get all these things be compatible to each other. And so over a period of time, even the compatibility, the protocols and standards have also evolved. And in such a way that now you can have one hardware from one person, another hardware from another person. You can have software from one person and you can have another software, and still they can work in tandem. They can work in cooperation. There are devices and components like computing devices, displays, batteries, and communication devices. All those things are also, going in under innovation at a speed which we can't imagine. The software, as I said, even software, there are multiple open softwares available. Why to reinvent the wheel? Nobody now today write the entire software on its own, right? We have got multiple software modules available on the net. So we can take one module from one source, another one from another source, and we can integrate and we can build another application with all those resources available. Okay. We've got a lot of sensors. Either those sensors are our internal sensors of mobile, say light sensor, gyroscope, accelerometer, or you can have industrial sensors like temperature, humidity, pH, speed, flow, whatever. Right? All those sensors are also now becoming digital. So, and by becoming digital, what does it mean? Now you have got the access and the control of everything what you are accessing to. And the ease of use. We know how simple and how easy it is to operate this digital technology devices. Say, for example, mobile. Today, even 3-4 years child can also operate it and can play a game on mobile. It's so simple now. Okay? And it's becoming so simple that earlier we used to write something to give command, then it came mouse, then it came touch screen, and now it's voice command. You don't have to even do anything other than just saying, hello, I need this. Hello, I want to call someone. And it's done. So it's very important to understand this emerging digital universe. Now let's see why this taking the grasp of digital universe is important. The World Organization of Economic Forum, the person said, the world economy no longer pays you for what you know, because Google knows everything. The world economy is going to pay only for what you can do with what you know. So just by knowing, nothing is going to help. But if you can do something with what you know, will sure give you the rewards. So this impact is going to be widespread, increasing, and at unprecedented rate. You can't control it. It's within, beyond anyone's control, right? It's become an essential infrastructure of everyone, and it's changing the way we are going to, doing the things. And now your value is based on what you can do or what you can deliver in a day. It's not dependent upon what you know or because you are there, right? So you need to know some tools which can improve your productivity. And if you remain on the edge of the future curve, you are going to be more comfortable, let me tell you. Otherwise, you are going to be pushed by the world and you will always fall behind. Let's take the example of how other people have taken the advantage of this digital universe and have come forward. Take the example of Google Map. How Google Map has, taken the advantage of cloud computing. We all know Google Map, how does it work, right? It's so simple. We have to just tell, this is the place where I am right now. I want to go to at another place, and it will immediately give you not only the path, but also will warn you that right now at bird circle or station there are some heavy traffic, so you take another route. Just now imagine what would have gone behind in the process of development of this Google Map to take all this functions in such a simpler way. You should have the storage, network, computing power. You should have the platform which will have the database, identity, and then also the application which will communicate with you, communicate with your GPS, with your not only you but also the surrounding people's data, and all those things together will give you this kind of information. Take another example, Paytm. We all have been using this money transfer, right? The money Paytm. How does it look? Simple. You have to just get some money from your bank to the Paytm wallet, and then whenever you require something, you can always transfer it to the merchant from your wallet. So what does it take? You have to, first of all, go to the payment gateway of your bank. You have to take that data. So Paytm will allow the access to that bank. The bank will authenticate you, verifies you, and then it will obey your command of transferring the money. It will also, through the server, will go to the merchant's place, merchant's account, and then whenever you give the command, it will get transferred into the merchant's bank account. Now, what this would have taken, the entire things what you have said, this entire cloud computing network, the cloud computing resources have been used. Though we find it very simple, but behind this entire application, there are a lot of things going, and that is what we are going to we have to appreciate, and we have to understand how these people have done with all these resources available. Let's take this another disruptive technology, not only disrupting now but also going to disrupt the future, right? The core of this is your identity, your data, your location, the cloud, and what are the other resources available for disruption? You have got some the camera technology improvement, you have got some variables available, you have got some energy streaming available, you have got some 3D printing available, you have got some self-driving cars available. And with all those technology being developed by someone at some place, now you can build the application on your own, which can either used in healthcare, can be used in Bollywood, you can use it in industry, you can use it in logistics, you can use it finance and whatnot, almost everything. Today, whatever segment or industry if you see, they all have been basically influenced by this digital technology. So what is the scale and how people have benefited from this digital universe? Let's see the scale and scope what others have already tried to do. if you see in the App Store, this is 2018's data, there are 2.87 million apps on Google Play Store and 1.96 million apps on Apple iOS. So all this, applications are available at your fingertip. And this is how, so, and by, getting this number, it also indicates how many people have taken the advantage, benefit from this digital universe, right? Why can't we be one of them? Check the categories, almost everything, starting from game, business, education, lifestyle, entertainment, and whatnot. I mean, in every category, you will see there are applications available, and you can make use of this digital universe everywhere, be it a farmer or scientist, all they are benefiting from this. So even if you see the download trend, how many times people have been using, or the time spent, earlier people used to got a lot of time on browser. Now 90% of the time people are spending on apps, either Facebook or WhatsApp or YouTube or gaming or whatever. So all these people are making use of applications. Why can't we be the one who can take advantage? So instead of being a user, why can't we be the creator of those things, right? So there are multiple applications you can find, like e-com applications, banking, finance applications, bookings. Just, I mean, whenever you see all these applications, you just imagine what has gone behind this application development, whether it's IRCTC or Make My Trip or Oyo or Zomato, what they could have done without some facilities in digital technology. So they all have, utilized this entire digital universe technologies and, innovations available on the, resources available, not with them, but with the others' development, and taking advantage of others' innovation for their particular application or benefit. So if you see all this innovative application, either Fitbit or Google Assistant or even Arogya Setu, the recent one, all those things are very innovative apps, and they have been using this entire new world of digital apps. Take an example of Google Translate. It can translate in 103 languages. And how it can work? You can just do tap to translate. You can even work offline. You can take advantage of camera in your mobile. You can take photo and which can detect what is written there, and you can convert it there. You can even do, whenever you are in conversation with someone, it can also detect that and it converts it into the digital format. Can also convert your handwriting. So either if you are in conversation with someone in, let's say, written messages, and if you don't know that language, Google will do it, Translate will do it for you. If there is one board and you can't read it because it's in another language, Google will translate it for you in your language with the help of camera, right? When you type something with your handwriting, with the stylus, the Google Translate will also convert that into the language of your choice. So you know what Google Translate has taken advantage of? The already available language resources, the camera within your system, and some, character recognition systems. So all those things they have utilized and made this Google Translate app, right? So when we see this, we all feel like, oh, these are so much complex and so much involved applications, and how can we do it? But remember, all those apps have been started by a very small, simple idea with a simple app, and then it has grown to such a level. So there are even some small task-specific app are also available, and it's not, it's very simple to develop an app. Let's give me an example of MIT App Inventor. It's free and it's available on the net, so even you can access it. So this is basically for the higher secondary school students. And if I narrate a simple example, some dealer had a problem that their salespeople were not able to give a consistent prices. So one person gives one price and another person gives another price. So as a classroom exercise, a school student developed this app so that every person, every salesperson can check the current reference price on the go, online, in real time. Now, this can be useful, right? And this has been developed by a small, I mean, not small, but a school student. Right? Let me give you another example of Gitanjali Rao. You must be aware, last fortnight, she was given by Time the Kid of the Year 2020. You must remember this, right? So, what brilliantly she narrated her journey in a single line: observe, brainstorm, research, build, and communicate. Observe. Observe whatever is around you, surrounding you. The brainstorm, think, process, analyze. How, what, why, where, all these things are happening. Research. What can you do in that? How can you make it better? How you can transform it? Try to build something on your research and then communicate to the world. So this is what the crux of the story, Gitanjali Rao, the age of 15 girl, gives it to the world. So she has also made, around at the age of 12, she made one app which was detecting the cyberbullying. So if someone is, harassing someone, or if someone is, teasing someone and bullying someone, then she had made the app which detects whether this word is considered as bullying or not. And this is how she started her journey. And now she is on the mission to create a global community of young innovators across the world, those who can solve the problems of the real world, current world. So, we all have to expect much more from ourselves. As I said again and again, being a user of this digital technology is one thing, and to be a creator of this, part of this digital universe is a different thing. So there are a lot of possibilities available. You have to just get yourself triggered with these possibilities. You have to visualize these possibilities. Require, though, some innovative mind, but if you know what are the current boundaries, what is the feasible thing, what is the possible thing, what are the limitations of scientific principle, technical principles, and how they all have been going. What is the current level of technology? If tomorrow something is improving on one scale, on one aspect, how you can take benefit of that change, and how you can make some particular app or some particular application in the real world better. And this is what is going to pay you in the future, right? So knowing what can be done, at what cost, and in what time, this helps you in imagining what is feasible, what is possible, what is deliverable, and then knowing how they will help you to implement it. So if you can just go through this, I'm sure we all can be an innovator. We have to just see around us, just explore it, just imagine it, the different solution, how you can be a part of it, how you can build that solution, how you can deliver it to the world. Now, before we go to how we are doing that, let me tell you about InnoQuest Digital and Vadodara Innovation Council in general. Jagdish Bhai has already given details about Vadodara Innovation Council's different programs: the Socho Hatke, the school program; InnoTalk, the monthly seminar program; Tod for Jod, the hands-on learning experience program for school students; InnoQuest General, a weekly program where it's a kind of online blog. So on a predefined, pre-specified topic, you all can come together and discuss on a platform where we have brought one, the master or the, a person who can, guide you on that topic. And you can, discuss among yourself how to, on a particular topic, be it either rocket science, or it agriculture, or Corona, or even this, Kisan Andolan. All those programs you can discuss, and you can find out how and what solutions we can provide for different, problems in the world. And then InnoQuest Digital, which is about what we have been discussing today. InnoQuest Digital is a program by Vadodara Innovation Council to empower all the participants to take benefit and make innovative using this existing resources and infrastructure of digital universe. So how we develop this? So after the success of Tod for Jod, which was really a physical and hands-on program, and it was provoking the students to become innovative using the scientific and technical principles and building blocks. So we were giving all this program in a physical manner to the student. But because of this, corona pandemic, we were forced to do something beyond that, because we could not do the physical program. So we were planning to give students a program which can empower them to do real innovation using this advanced digital technologies, which can make participant of this program not only the user of this digital universe, but a creator and an innovator.